Well, hello everybody and welcome to the Raise podcast. This is all about raising confidence and inspiring creativity. My name is Carol Barwick. Every week, we will be talking about a different raise word with a different guest. And we're really looking forward to welcoming Corinna Parkins this afternoon to talk to us about our raise word. But first of all, Corinna, what is your favourite song and can you tell us why, please?
Okay, so my favourite song is a song by Cyndi Lauper called True Colours. The reason why is because there was a time, quite a dark time in my life, where I was quite confused about what I should be doing with my life. And the song jumped into my mind and I went and listened to it. And I realised through the words that, you know, everybody has some true colours. Everyone has something special inside them that they can bring out. And it just really raised my spirits and it raised my thoughts about myself and the future. So it really actually impacted where I was at that time. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a great choice. Good old 80s song, but it's got such a message to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Brilliant. So, Corinna, our raise word this week is community, and I know that you do loads and loads of stuff about community. So first of all, can you tell us what community means to you?
Okay, so I think when I was thinking about the word community, I actually started thinking about the lack of community that I've felt in my own life. So when I've not felt community and how that's impacted me and how changing that round and actually trying to bring community to people has made a difference in my own life. So back in sort of 10 years ago, I had my first child. And at that time, we just moved house and I just finished my job. And yeah, at the time, I was having quite bad sort of postnatal depression. And so I isolated myself from a lot of people and just wouldn't go out and didn't really do much with my child because how I was feeling at the time. And I think it was that isolation and that feeling of being alone that changed something in me and thought, hang on, there's other people that feel this way in life and other people that feel completely just on their own, and it's an awful feeling, and I've experienced that. So I think the word community means to me that you're not on your own, that you're not isolated, that people can come around you and lift you up and build you up and have an impact on your life as you reach out to them and they reach back out to you. Yeah, that's my kind of, yeah.
Thank you. And in 2020, isolation just seems to be everywhere, doesn't it? It's sadly a bit of a buzzword at the moment, the idea of isolating and being separated from people. And yet community is kind of the antithesis of that, and it brings hope. And you bring a lot of hope in what you do. So can you tell us how you promote community through what you do and what your business is all about, please?
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I started up a community interest company called True Colours, which comes from the song that I mentioned. And the reason why I decided to start my own business was that I kind of looked around my own area, my own community, and thought, hang on, there's not a lot going on here for anybody, any families. Everybody felt very, very much kind of doing their own thing, but not a lot of feeling of togetherness.
Yeah.
So I'm quite a creative person. So I was thinking creatively how I could make a difference and how I could actually bring about a sense of we're all together and we're all in this together. And so myself and another local lady started doing craft mornings in the holidays where we'd just put on a theme and people would come along and do some family crafts. And it kind of started from there, really. And I think it just started people coming together and to share together and to recognise each other and to build that sense of not being on our own, especially when you've got young children. I think it's a massive feeling that you can be feeling like you're just raising them up on your own. And I think it was something that was on my heart to do. It was kind of like I'd been there, done that, didn't want other people to feel alone.
Yeah.
Also noticed, neighbours, elderly neighbours around me that were quite alone. I thought, hang on, we need to bring everybody in somehow. And yes, that's where it started, really. It started from just a kind of a thought and a desire to bring people together a bit more in my own community.
That's fantastic. And I think it's the starting, isn't it? There are
Yeah.
so many people that if you speak to, they'd say, oh, well, maybe I could do this. Oh, I'm sure if I thought about it, I could do this. But it's the actual starting. It's having the courage to know the skills and the gifts that you've got already, and then actually use them. And it sounds like meeting with somebody else and kind of talking to them was a bit of a catalyst in getting it
Yeah,
getting
and
the ball
knowing,
rolling.
yeah, definitely. And I think
Yeah.
when you've got a like-minded person that goes, hang on, I understand where you're coming from,
Yeah,
that makes a massive difference. Yeah.
that's brilliant. And what kind of things do you do to serve the community?
So we do a range of things, really. So we started off like a young person's choir, which we've used kind of to do performances for the community. We've also done things like putting on a crazy fashion show, which was great fun, and we involved the community to do that, to kind of get dressed up, and we also asked them to bring along their sort of unwanted clothing and things like that. It's been quite a lot of fun.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, and then recently we've just done a massive big pumpkin hunt around the area, where it was brilliant, actually. I took out my children and went round, and to see people enjoying doing something as a community was just such an uplifting, especially at the moment. It was like, hang on, we've done something that's going to raise up people's feeling of isolation, feeling of just desperation right now. Something to look forward to, something to give their children a bit of normality at the moment. So we've done a range of things, and I think I'm one of these people that just constantly tries to think of new ways to to be creative in how we reach the community and how we just build people up, really.
Yeah. And again, something I've heard a lot of recently is, Halloween is cancelled, Christmas is cancelled, and I think it's a very proactive way to say it's not cancelled. It's different. It's different. It looks different. But the bottom line is community isn't cancelled, is it?
Absolutely.
It might look different. But I think you're doing brilliantly at bringing community together, even when you're not allowed to see each other face to face in the same way, which is such a gift to have. So I'm sure so many people are grateful to you for that. Have you got any stories or situations where you really saw community working together?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I think so. So there was a time when I think we're doing one of our half-term events, and there was a lady that came through the door she's a foster carer, and I think she came along because her daughter had come to a few times, and she was really in a dark place. She just lost her mum, and she was just kind of, I've just come for some support, just to do something with the kids, and she was just, it was just, you could see just having somewhere to go with the children, people to talk to, just made a massive difference in the time that she was having a really tough time in her life. And I just think kind of putting that hand of friendship out and saying you're not on your own, people care, just made a massive difference. And it was just, all it was putting on something very simple. It wasn't like a massive event. It was just something really simple. And I think it was just that realizing that, there's individuals coming with individual kind of, not everyone's got problems, but their life stories of, that then that sense of community, which I think years ago we used to have, but I think in the world that we live in right now, everyone's so busy doing lots of other things that we kind of forget each other. And it's like, your neighbour next door might be going through a really tough time, but if you don't talk to them, you would never know. So I think it was just little stories like that where, you meet somebody and you think, hang on, they're desperate to get out with their kids. This is something that's just giving them a bit of relief for a bit.
Yeah.
and a bit of help and support. And it does not have to be something amazing. The simplest things I think really work. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of courage for people to go into that kind of environment, and an environment of any kind of event. But I think, again, community helps in bringing people in, easily. I found that with my choir, that I'm always amazed at people that come in on their own for the first time and know no one. And yet the community is such that they are welcomed so quickly. And I think that's a really key thing that community offers, that kind of welcome. And I guess you have to be careful, because also in community, there can be cliques and people can be perceived to be keeping other people out. But there's such a welcome generally in a community that's brought about. I know that raising self-esteem and confidence is something that's really important to you. Can you tell us a few ways in which True Colours do that?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of our sort of branches off what we do in the community. We also do mental health work with young people, and I think that it's so obviously right now it's very important for children to be able to express themselves and to feel in a safe place where they can express themselves and talk about their feelings and talk about, how they approach life, and to give them that hand up, I think is really important. And I think that's definitely one way that we do that. We kind of want to raise up the children to feel as though they can cope with life, and that they have got the tools that they need, and they have got the support that they need, and they're not on their own. And I think it all links in with the community thing, really, doesn't it? I think, if they realise that they're not on their own, that they've got support, there's other children out there feeling exactly the same as them, that it will raise up their aspirations, their views on themselves, and just build up a more secure child. So yeah, that's one way we do it.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
That sounds fantastic. I know that we've been talking in on the Facebook group, the Facebook community, the Raise community, about what community means to them. And somebody was talking about the word unity and how it brings people together. And I think the work that you were just talking about with children, it unifies them, doesn't it? I don't know about you, but I've had situations where I've had two young people who do not get on with each other. They don't like each other at all. And when you put them in a situation and ask them a particular set of questions, they suddenly realize that they're a lot more alike than they wanted to accept.
Absolutely.
And suddenly that unity brings them together. And it's like some form of magic. It is amazing when you can unify people in that way. And I think you do that really well with your big emotions work. And what we'll do is we'll pop some information about True Colours in the show notes at the end, along with what Raise does as well. So if you want to know more about what Corinna does, you'll be able to get in touch with her and find out a bit more about that. We're going to wrap it up in a few minutes, but what does True Colours mean for you in terms of community? How has it impacted you growing this community interest company and seeing people change?
I think it's given me a focus in life. It's given me a drive, but I didn't have before. I think it's to see that something that you're doing yourself can impact somebody else, and how that can raise them up and encourage them and give them confidence. I think it kind of comes back to you again. I think it actually builds you up and then gives you confidence. So it's like a cycle, really. So the more that you give out, the more you actually see come back in again. So it's growing me as a person. It's been a challenge at times, but it's been a good challenge. And it's I think it's that thing that you said earlier about, having a little idea and just going for it. I think if I'd spoken to myself 2 years ago and said, in 2 years' time, this is what you'd be doing, I wouldn't have believed it. But I had to take that initial first step of like a bit of step of faith, really, going, well, okay, let's just try it. And I think trying, and it hasn't been always easy, but I think that trying and having a vision for something and going, you know what, why not? Why can't I try this? Why can't I have a go and see what happens? And I think it's definitely grown me as a person. It's definitely grown me in my understanding of myself as well. I feel like the true colours thing has brought about who I am, if that makes sense.
That's wonderful. It's showing your true colours, which is totally what it's about, isn't it? It encapsulates all that you are and what you do, which is a real gift, because we both know that so many people are in jobs and they struggle with them and they don't enjoy them. So to be in a place where you're seeing yourself grow as well as other people is a real gift. I was going to say it's a joy, but I know sometimes it's really, really difficult. When you work with people in the community, it's not always easy, is it? Have you got any experience of a time where it wasn't so easy to be in a community environment?
Well, personally, I think it's that sense of people being very busy in their lives and not having time to look outward looking outwardly to other people. And I think it's going against the tide a bit, actually, because you're kind of trying to go, hang on a minute, yes, we all are busy, yes, we've all got our lives and we've all got our families and we've got other things going on, but actually it's really important that we look out for each other. And I think not everybody will get that, and not everybody will understand that. And I think it's really important to kind of shed light on it and go, hang on, we live so close to each other, we need to connect to each other, so that times like now, when, like, for example, when COVID hit here, the first thing I thought of was, hang on a minute, there's going to be people around me that can't get food, what can I do? So it's it was really important for me to do something proactive about it. And but not everybody feels that way and thinks that way, and that's fine. But I think it's really important to raise that sense of we need to look out for each other, because that's part of what life's about, I think.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's often the loneliest people that say that they haven't got time for community, and they don't realize that taking that little extra step and making a bit of time for someone else could be the answer to what they're needing as well. But also picking up on what you said about looking outward, it's really important to be aware of what's going on around you, because at the end of the day, it isn't and it shouldn't just be about ourselves. We need to be looking outward, and because when you do that for other people, they're also going to be more likely to do that for you in the future. You might need them later on in life. So without taking it from too selfish a point of view, it's 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 good for us to be aware of other people, because we might need them.
Exactly.
Brilliant. That was great. Okay, so we're just about at the end of the show for today, but now we get to the bit where I write you a little rhyme. Community is being brave and thinking about the others, knowing that one day we might save those who are sisters and brothers. There you go.
I think that's brilliant.
Short and sweet.
Good. No, it's brilliant. Love it.
Corinna, it's been really lovely to talk to you today and sharing what you do. For our listeners, we'll pop your information in the show notes, as well as information from Raise. And we very much look forward to our next guest in our podcast next week. Please keep raising people's confidence and inspiring creativity. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Raise podcast. We hope you feel raised, and inspired by this episode. Whilst we're not offering face-to-face classes currently, we are doing online singing lessons where you can have your voice raised as well as your confidence. If you would like to find out more, please visit our website at www.raiseforall.com or find us on social media on either our Facebook or Instagram page. Take care.